Hello everybody, this is JT Productions and welcome back to another 2023 Preview and Prediction video. Today I'll be doing the TCU Horned Frogs. So let's get into it. TCU last year went 13-2 with their only losses coming in the postseason. They went 12-0 in the regular season. They lost to Kansas State in overtime in the Big 12 title before losing to Georgia 65-7 in the national title. Now, let's look at the wins that they rattled off to make this happen. Well, they beat Colorado in week 1 with Chandler Morris starting. I'll get back to him later, before him getting injured and them having to play Max Duggan. They then played SMU, who was a rival of theirs, beating them 42-34. Then they blew out Oklahoma, who was ranked in the top 10 at the time, I believe, 55-24, which really opened a lot of people's eyes. Then they beat ranked Kansas 38-31. Then they beat ranked Oklahoma State 43-40 in double overtime. Then they beat ranked Kansas State 38-28. Then they beat West Virginia, who was not ranked. Then they beat Texas Tech, who I don't think was ranked. Then they beat Texas 17-10, who was ranked. They beat Baylor in one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. Then they beat Iowa State to go to the Big 12 title, where they lost in overtime 31-28. Did not drop them or put them up at all. And they beat Michigan in one of the best playoff games that we've seen in recent memory, 51-45, before getting drugged by Georgia in the national title. So they had a magical season. I'll give them that. They had a magical season. So let's see what Sonny Dykes is working with this season. Well, Chandler Morris, like I said, is back. He got injured early last year and looking like he's going to be the starter this year. Running back, you have Manny Bailey, Trent Battle, Trey Sanders, transfer from Alabama, who's in that room. Wide receiver, you have Savion Williams. You have JoJo Earl transferring in from Alabama. You have J.P. Richardson, junior transfer from Oklahoma State at wide receiver. You also have Jack Besh coming in from LSU. And you have Jared Wiley, who's still with the team. On the offensive line, you have a bunch of veterans, and you have a senior transfer, Willis Patrick from Jackson State. So the offense, I don't have an issue with. I think that their offense is going to be fine as long as Chandler Morris is on his game. The defense, we'll have to see. They were pretty scrappy last year. They lost their best defensive back, but they still have Bud Clark, who was the second best. They get Avery Helm, a corner from Florida, in as a transfer. So we'll see if he can't help to rectify the secondary. The big issues I have with the team are questions on the defense, depth, and quarterback. So let's go to the schedule to see how I think it's going to shake out. Well, week 1 they play Colorado, and I think this is the best place TCU could get Colorado. I think TCU is going to take advantage of that and win this game easily. Then they play Nicholls State at home. I think win that game easily before playing at Houston. At Houston is going to be a tough game, very physical atmosphere. I do think that TCU wins it in the end, but I do think Houston can keep it close. Then they play SMU. I think you win that one. I don't think the SMU is going to be that much of a problem. Tanner Mordecai's gone to Wisconsin. Don't know who took his place, but I'll just have to see. Then you play West Virginia at home. I think you're able to get that win. It's easier to play them when you're at home than when you have to go to Morgantown. Then you go on the road to Iowa State. Iowa State going to be having some quarterback issues, and with Sonny Dykes' offense and a scrappy defense, I think TCU gets the win here. So you're 6-0 at this point. TCU, whether it's close wins or blowout wins, they're going to be ranked to some extent. So you host BYU at this point. BYU, Kadon Slovis, a bunch of transfers in for Sataki and that team. I think they upset you. I think that BYU comes in there and in a close loss, you lose to the Cougars. And I think that this boils over into the next week when you go on the road to Kansas State. And I think that Kansas State takes advantage of that. So you already have 2 losses. You're 6-2 going into the bye week. Now, does that help? Does the bye week come at a good time? I think so. I think coming out of the bye week, you have to go on the road to Texas Tech. I think at this point, your mind is right, and you get back to work. You beat Texas Tech, and I think you have one of the biggest upsets of the season. You beat Texas. So at this point, you are fighting for the Big 12 title. You go and play Baylor, and I think Baylor upsets you. Baylor is going to be a very much improved team from last year, in my opinion. Blake Shapen, I think, is going to take a step forward, and I think the defense is going to be as good as it was 2 years ago. So at this point, you are 8-3, and you have to go on the road to Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma's going to get a big revenge from last year with y'all injuring Dylan Gabriel. So I think your final record for the 2023 season is going to be 8-4, just a little bit of a step back from last year. But TCU, they're not going to go fully away anytime soon. They're always going to be in the running for the Big 12. So there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and Go Dawgs.